Hello everyone. Well, what a February I've had. I have been ill for the whole month of February. I'm still not out of the woods. You might be able to detect from my voice. I'm feeling better today. A little bit better than I've felt for a long time. Well, February. Basically started with a cough. I mean, this is long before the coronavirus bollocks. There, I said bollocks. You know, I could be paranoid, thinking, oh crikey, I've got that. So no, all this happened long before that was in the news. And so I thought I was getting over it, you know, it started with a cough, which is unusual for me. To start a cold just by coughing, because I normally get sore throat, but no, I started with a cough, and it just got worse and worse, and it was a mean illness because it made you think you were getting better, and then all of a sudden you got worse. But all through it, I still went to work spreading my germs because I'm a sharer, I'm a giver, and well, mainly because my arsehole employer wouldn't pay me a penny for being off, you know. So anyway, bollocks and arsehole in 2 videos, you see. Well, why not? What song? They're probably the worst swears you'll hear on my channel. They're not the worst swears I know, believe you me, I know a lot of swears. One swear word in particular I couldn't physically say for many years, and then I started practicing saying the word, and now it just trips off the tongue. But it's very unlikely you'll see that particular word on YouTube. We wouldn't say that in front of Daisy May anyway. So, I'm a bit blocked up, still got a cough. I believe if you have a cough for more than, is it 3 weeks, you're supposed to go to your doctor? Nah, I'd rather die than go to my doctor or go into a hospital again. So, a combination of making sure I take my vitamins, my turmeric, eating more healthy and praying has started making me feel a bit better, until people at work start coughing and sneezing all over the place with no care that they're spreading their germs. I mean, at least when I'm at work and I cough or sneeze, I cover my mouth. And I've also got this little hand gel now that about every half hour at work I'm doing the hand gel, trying not to touch my face, because that's the way that this coronavirus is supposed to spread. But any cold, although you can't prevent anything, if someone sneezes in your vicinity, you breathe that in and you're buggered. There we go, that's another mild swear word. We've had bollocks. I can't remember what the other one was. Bollocks, buggered, and I've forgotten. I feel like I need a damn good blow, Daisy. I don't really want to inhale my snot on camera. So, anyway, Mark got the cold, and I assumed he'd got my cold, so I didn't take that many precautions. I was using wipes around handles and the microwave and the dishwasher and cupboards that we both touch, trying to keep out of his way when he was coughing and stuff. But it doesn't look like he did get my cold, because I caught another cold. I got a different cold, which is the one I'm recovering from now, because I could tell it was different symptoms, but it's not lasting so long. I'm just a bit clogged up. I'm coughing occasionally, not as much as I used to, but I've still got a sore side, and I think I've strained myself with all the coughing. I don't think it's a lung problem, it's a strain. So, you know, I'm having to hold myself in when I'm coughing. But I feel, touch wood. No, there's nobody at the door, dogs. Touching wood. I feel that I'm coming to the end of it. We've had a bit of snow today, overnight. It's more or less gone. It's nice and sunny, which I love. I love winter when it's sunny. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go and have a blow, because I can, you know, I don't really want to do that on camera. Right, there we go, sorry about that. I didn't get it all. Oh, heck. I'll take some mucus cough syrup in a minute. Now, anyway, Mark and I managed to get down to London. It was a Christmas present. So went down for London. It was an overnight stay. He was starting to feel a bit ill then. I was starting to feel slightly better, but still, not 100%. And obviously, if you've been to London and you've been on the Underground, or the Tube, as it's known, you can often be crammed in with people. And we had a few instances where it was, nose to armpit, which isn't pleasant, I can tell you. Especially someone like me who doesn't like touching people or things that other people have touched. Having to standing up, having to hang on to the bar near the door, and having all these people so close. It's amazing how people cope. But if you're not familiar with the London Underground, and this must have always been the case, because I remember going on the Underground as a much younger boy when we used to live down in Sussex, went to London a fair bit, used to travel through London, used to go on the Underground, so I was familiar with the Underground. People just don't make eye contact, they don't look at each other, they don't talk. It's very unusual. It's surreal because everyone stands there as if there's nobody near them, and I think that's how they cope. Now, of course, with phones, if someone's got a phone, they'll be looking at it. Even though, as I discovered, there's no phone signal on the Underground. Well, there wasn't on the Underground stations I was at. So maybe they're just playing games or reading books or whatever, or just looking through apps knowing that they're not working. I don't know, but it's anything to acknowledge that there's another human being in that tube of crammed in people. It's not pleasant, Anyway, we went to London town, and it was a lovely, despite we both weren't feeling too good, we really enjoyed the short trip. And Mark's a bit London phobic, but I think he's changed his mind a bit about London. And I didn't see any knife gangs and druggies on the street and all this thing. You hear what London's about on the news. Well, I didn't experience any of that. So we went on a train, which was Hull trains, because we left the dogs at my mum's and got a train about 9 a.m. and it only took about 2 hours into London. The trip was okay, apart from the electric socket, and the charging USB chargers didn't work, and they didn't work coming back either. But I was fully charged up, more or less, so it was okay. Nice, pleasant trip. And we were staying in a place near Leicester Square, where a lot of the theatres and cinemas are, because we had a theatre booked, a theatre show booked that night. So it's fairly central. It was a Premier Inn, and I like Premier Inns because we just, if there's a Premier Inn, we go to a Premier Inn because they're good value. We know what we're getting. They're all much the same. The beds are fairly comfy. It's basic, but it's what you need. It's nothing fancy, but it's good value, especially for central London where we were. So we got to King's Cross, got on the Underground, the Tube. Bought an Oyster card, which is best to use. You can use your own contactless credit card, but we found just get an Oyster card, top it up, and you just scan the Oyster card every time you go through the barriers when you go into a station, and you scan it on the way out, and it deducts the money. So we found where the hotel was. We left our bags there. We travelled very light. I just had a small rucksack. And we couldn't really check in until about 3. We were there quite early. So we had to walk around the area. I used my new phone because Mark's phone wasn't charged properly, and it was useful for finding a way round. So I think the first day we went to this vegan/vegetarian restaurant called Tibbetts, which my mum had recommended. My eldest brother took there. And again, for central London, it's good value. And instead of sort of having a menu and you choosing, it's basically a self-serve thing in the middle. And you grab your plate and you just take what you like. And then you take the plate to the till and they weigh the plate and you're charged according to the weight. So and on a Tuesday when we went, Tuesdays, and this might have changed, but Tuesdays are vegan days. So everything on the selection, on the counter was vegan. So I just picked, and it makes you want to try more things, because if you're looking at menu, you don't really know what the food's going to be like. But if you can see it and a description, and then you see it and you might be able to smell it, and you think, oh, I'll try a bit of that. So I had a nice plate. I'll put a picture up of what I chose. Lots of different things. And yes, it was all very nice. And also we did have a pudding. Normally we don't bother, but I selected a load of puddings as well. It was a couple of cakes, some lovely mango mousse. I put some grapes and pineapple on there as well. And here's the pudding. I ate a Mark also had a similar things to me, and that was lovely. Outside of Tibbets, there was a blue plaque on the wall of the building, and it's apparently it's the location of a David Bowie album cover. If you look around London, if you keep your eyes open, you can see blue plaques on many buildings that show where famous people used to live or work. One, if you're interested in seeing around London, I would recommend the YouTube channel. I think it's Jules Guide, JOOLZ Guides. He seems a fairly personable chap, a local Londoner. Quite amusing the way he presents. You can actually book him as well to take you on a private tour if you want. Don't know how much he charges. He shows a lot of interesting things around London, but we didn't have a guide. We just, used our own eyes. So after Tibbets, we had a walk round everywhere, and I think we went to the Miele Gallery. I just wanted to see some Miele products. I wasn't up to much really. They didn't have many vacuums. Here's a picture of the vacuums they had. A cat and dog. I think it's cat and dog cylinder, wasn't it? Two cat and dog vacuums, and the new Miele Triflex cordless. They just had a basic version. Not very impressed with that, to be honest. Very heavy. Not very powerful suction either. But anyway, so I had a look around there. Looked at the washing machines as well. Didn't stay long there, but it was okay. But the Miele Gallery is quite near the BBC in London, where the BBC are now based. They used to be based at a place called White City, the famous BBC sort of donut building, which now ITV occupies some of that, and then some of its flats, I think, apartments. But the newer BBC, Broadcasting House, I think it was called, and it's had an extension. There's an old bit, and it's got this sort of glass extension. They filmed the One show there, if you're familiar with that. So we were near the BBC, and Mark said, oh, let's walk through. But Mark said to me, as we were nearing the BBC, he said, oh, I thought there'd be wall-to-wall famous people walking around London. Well, you don't get loads of famous people. But within 30 seconds of him saying that, who should walk by but Howard from Take That? Looking, well, I think he's about my age, but yeah. Gravity hasn't been kind on that man, and he's obviously probably done a lot of drinking and possibly drugs maybe, and not enough moisturiser, too many late nights, so he's looking quite haggard. So he fleetingly passed, and I just said to Mark quite loudly, I said, well, look, there's a famous person. I didn't say oh, it's Howard from Take That, because I'm not a huge fan. I don't mind him, but I'm not someone who'd fawn over a famous person. I'd never do that. I'd see a famous person, I'd be just like, oh, look, it's so-and-so. I'd never go up to them and say, oh, I love you. No, it's not in my nature. But yeah, it was funny. It was definitely him. I saw him straight on, and Mark looked round. He obviously heard me say, oh, look, there's a famous person. But I didn't say it's Howard from Take That. But then because we were near the BBC, I thought, oh, he's probably been in on the radio or something. So we walked through the BBC. I scoffed as we walked through. You can walk through sort of an L shape, and at the end of it there's a statue of George Orwell, who wrote 1984. Rather ironic that they've got a statue of him. I'm against the BBC now. I'm just... Mark still likes Auntie Beeb. He says, I like Auntie Beeb. Well, there's some aunties that are a bit, not very nice. I used to like Auntie Beeb, and there's a lot of Auntie Beeb things I do still like, mainly from the past, and a few newer things I've enjoyed, but I can watch those on other Netflix and other things, or buy the DVD. I don't see why we should have to pay for the whole output of the BBC. Anyway, that'll change, I think, what the BBC are up to. So, saw that. Then what did we do? We had a bit more of a walk round. I think we went to Boots and got some sort of sandwiches and wraps and drinks and stuff to have in the hotel. So yes, and we got back to the hotel. We'd done a lot of walking around. We'd been in shops and things. John Lewis, a bit disappointing that was, for a flagship store. Some other shops. I think we walked around Soho. Or was that later? Anyway, we just walked around basically, and it was lovely, lovely weather. It was like this, bright and sunny, bit windy, but it was no rain both days. It was absolutely glorious. So that helped, having nice weather. So then we checked in at the hotel. I had a shower. I think Mark did. Had our little sort of packed lunch thing, and then we got ready to go out. And it was a bit. I said to Mark before we left, before we went back to the hotel, I said, I want to see where this theatre is so we know where to find it, because it's going to be dark when we're looking for it. We didn't. Anyway, we found it within 5 minutes of the curtain going up. I can't remember where it was. Anyway, we went to see this. I booked it, and I didn't really I thought it was a different sort of play. It was a play called, The Play That Goes Wrong or something. Now, on the BBC, they've just had a series of the Goes Wrong show or something, where it's basically this group of actors who play amateur actors from an Amdram company, and everything goes wrong with the set, and lots of things go wrong. It's quite funny. I didn't know it was that thing. I thought it was something different. But when I saw it was that from the poster, I thought, oh, it's that. So that was very good. Mark liked that as well. It looked quite dangerous. Some of the things they were doing, some of the way the sets were falling down, if they were out slightly, if they were stood in the wrong place, they could have had a whack on the head, because at the end the whole set collapsed. I think it's a Buster Keaton, or it could be a Charlie Chaplin film, where you see a wall. I think it could be Charlie Chaplin. It's a famous scene of, I think it is Charlie Chaplin, standing in the middle, and this building collapses, and it's fortunate that it collapses where the window is, so he's okay, but everything collapses around him. That's how the play ends. But it was very funny. There was this part where they were trying to get this woman who'd been knocked out unconscious. They were trying to pull her through the window without anyone noticing, and they had all the people in the back, and they were she was showing her knickers, Oh, it was hilarious. It was spoilt slightly by, I'm not being, I suppose you could call it racist. I think he was American or Canadian, but he was quite loud. He was appreciating, he was right behind me, he was appreciating the play, but not in the British way, He was doing it in an American way, which to a British person, that can be a little bit obnoxious and loud, Just saying, we are different the way British and American audience, I'm sure, are quite different. British people don't do a lot of whooping and whistling, and they just jolly good show, that sort of thing, mostly. But he was quite loud in some points. I thought, I did actually turn around after the play had finished to have a look at him, and he wasn't unattractive, to be honest. But anyway, I turned around and gave him a look as if to say, have you no decorum, man? We're British. Just Well, sorry, English. I'm English. I'm not British. I'm English. Anyway, so that was absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed that, and we were really near the front. I got the tickets, and they were sort of front centre, maybe about 3 or 4 from the back. So we saw everything. It was very, very good. So we enjoyed that, and that's right. We came back, and I was still quite energetic. So we went back to the hotel because it was, once we knew where the theatre was, it was only 5 minutes away. Freshened up a bit, and we decided to go to Soho, where they have a few bars that gentlemen hang out in, if you know what I mean. Mainly gentlemen. So we went to a famous-ish, well, it's famous because it was bombed, actually, I think in the 80s by the IRA. Oh, and I've forgotten what it's called now. It's a really famous, really small pub in Soho. I think it's on Old Compton Street. Ecky Thump, I've forgotten. When I edit this, I'll remember. So here's a picture of the pub. If I remember, you know what it is now because I put a picture up, because I will have Googled it, but I've forgotten. The Admiral Duncan. Oh, I think that's the one. The Admiral Duncan, yes, because that was bombed. So it had a drag act at the end of it's very thin bar, not very wide, not even as wide as my living room. And we just sort of stood at the back. I was having a cider, Mark had a beer. I think they were about £8 each or something, some silly price. And I just looked around, thought, and I think Mark was the same. We just had our one drink and buggered off, It was, not really our scene, I think. We're too old for that. Although, I'll say, there was a lot of people our sort of age there. It's just not, it's not for me, that sort of thing, and it never has been, to be honest. Going to clubs and doing all that. No. I had a little brief period of it in York, and a bit in Leeds when I was sort of coming out, early days, and quite liking the attention because I was new meat, but I didn't, I met one person who I had a bit of a thing with for a few months or so. Well, it must be more than months, must have been into a couple of years, because I ran 2 Great North runs with him, this particular chap. So they're every year, so yeah. But anyway, that's a long, long time ago. So we had breakfast, reasonable night's sleep. Mark was coughing a lot, but I didn't hear him much. Went down to have the breakfast. They didn't have any soya milk out. We had to ask for it. In London, you'd think they'd have the soya milk and or an alternative milk there. You shouldn't have to ask. So I managed to have some toast, some cereal. I had some hash browns and baked beans. That's about all I could have, because I don't eat mushrooms. I don't eat solid, full tomatoes, and I could have had more if I'm not so fussy. But yeah, that was fine. Filled up on that, and then we went to the O2 Centre in London. Got on the tube. And went there first thing, sort of about 10:30, I think, to see the Abba. It's called Super Troopers, and it's like an Abba exhibition. Now that was one part of my Christmas present. Unless you're a huge, huge, huge fan of Abba, I wouldn't bother. I love Abba, and I always will love Abba. I've liked Abba since I was, little boy, and I know I will always like Abba until I kick the bucket. But a lot of it I knew, I mean, you can spend as much or as little time as you want in there. But it's quite expensive what it is. But basically, you go in, it's in the O2, you go in and you're given this interactive sort of, it looks like a big iPod thing with earphones. And it's got a screen, and you can go around, and it's set up into different rooms to show different... the history of Abba, basically, from when they started off, before they were Abba, when they formed, when they won the Eurovision Song Contest. And there's rooms featuring the different albums, and there's costumes there from the album covers, costumes from the Eurovision. They were replica costumes, and you can spend as long you can be there. If you want to be there half an hour, you can. If you want to be there 3 or 4 hours, you can, because you can go through the interactive thing. You can listen to all the albums. You can just sit on a chair if you want and listen. Go into an album room and just listen to the whole album through your things. So you could be there. If you're a huge fan, you could be there all day if you wanted to experience it. There was lots of things to do, interactive, lots to read. We just sort of went through. I looked at what I was interested in, and at the end there's this big screen and lots of bean bags, and you can sit on a bean bag, and I haven't sat on a bean bag for many years, and it was like you plop in and you think, oh heck, right? Very comfy, I must say, until it's time to get out of it. If you're a certain age. I mean, I'm not decrepit, but they are quite low down, and your bum does sink into the thing. But I was thinking, I'll have to get myself one of these for home. So you watch this sort of mini documentary on Abba, and I was watching that. I was getting a bit teary-eyed because it was reminding me of all the. Because Abba have followed me. Well, I followed Abba. They've not followed me. I don't see why they would. I followed Abba through my entire life, and I've always liked Abba, even when Abba was not cool. I thought, I don't care. I wasn't, I don't care that people think Abba aren't cool. I still like them. And of course, Abba became cool again, and with Mamma Mia and everything. And Abba are, well, some people still will think they're not cool, but they are still popular. People are still listening to Abba even now. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that sort of the sort of documentary, listening to snippets of the songs and seeing them. And I was just. That's what happens at the end of the tour. It's a tour, but it's a tour you do yourself. There's no person taking you. So I enjoyed that. Mark had to pull me out of my bean bag. I probably could have got out of it myself, but And then at the end, there's a shop. And I intended to buy a couple of things just as souvenirs, but the prices were ridiculous, and everything you can buy from that shop you can buy online from the Abba Museum web shop, but they were several pounds more each item, so I decided not to bother. There was a little tray that I quite liked that had a printing from the Abba album cover, Abba the album. It was like a little sandwich tray, but it was £18. And I thought, well, I can afford that, but I just thought, no, that's far too much. A mug was about £15, and it was silly money. So I thought, no, I've got all these pictures, I've had the experience. I didn't need to buy. I've got all their albums, which is what's the most important thing about Abba to me, is the music. So having a mug with Abba on it's not going to make any difference, is it? It's more clutter. Anyway, again, the weather, beautiful blue skies. So we walked out the O2. We just had a walk around, and then I saw this, which I didn't know was there, a cable car, which I think is Emirates airline cable car. So I went on my phone, and that proved invaluable, because I did buy a new phone before I went to London, and I've got a contract. Well, it's not a contract. I pay a monthly thing, but I get quite a lot of data, so I could use it a lot. So I had a look and saw what it was, and it was only £3.50. So I thought, let's go on it. I'm not all that keen, but yeah, this is a little bit of a film I took on my phone going over the River Thames. So when we got to the other side, there's not a lot there, to be honest. So Mark asked where the nearest tube station was. So there was one nearer, but we decided to have a bit of a walk to the next tube station. Again, because the weather was so lovely, it was nice just to get out and walk. And you could see, or it was sort of Canary Wharf area, I think. So you could see in the background some of the famous, the Shard and the pumpkin, not pumpkin, the Gherkin building. You know, some of the famous sort of landmarks from that sort of part of London. And of course the Millennium Dome itself we could see, well, especially from the cable car. So after that, I think, yes, Mark was after a cup of tea or something, so I think, yeah, that's when we went to John Lewis. It was that day. So we went to John Lewis cafe on the top floor. I just had a black coffee and Mark had a tea. We just sat and watched the world go by for a bit. Did we have anything to eat in London? I'm thinking we had the Tibbets meal. Yeah, I don't think we had another meal out because we just... No, that's right, because we'd had a breakfast. We had a reasonable... Well, we filled up at breakfast at the hotel. So we weren't that hungry. So again, we went to Boots to get some things to eat on the train. So we walked around a bit more of London, just looked around shops. Oh no, we didn't. Crikey, I forgot. We went to the museums. We fitted a lot in. So after the O2, we went, I think, to John Lewis, and then we went to Kensington, where they've got some museums, and we went to the Victoria and Albert Museum because there was a car exhibition on, and Mark likes cars. So we got there, but you had to pay, I think, £18 each to get into the museums. I think more or less the big museums, Science Museum, Natural History, and the V&A Museum. It's free to get in to see a lot of the exhibits, but they do exhibitions where you have to pay. So to see these cars, it was £18 each, so we didn't bother. Oh, we did sit in the cafe in the V&A. I had a very nice vegan flapjack thing, I think. Mark had a cake and I had a black coffee. And then we popped over the road to the Science Museum. And again, it's free to get in, but they encourage you to give a donation, which I did. But again, in there are exhibitions where you have to pay. So we were trying to find, and I've seen them a few times. Obviously, I wanted to go downstairs to see the vacuum cleaners and the washing machines and the old appliances. That's the only reason I want to see in the Science Museum. So we eventually found it, took a bit of a wrong turn and tried to go through an area, and some bloke says, "Have you paid?" And I says, "Oh, what for?" And that was for some other exhibition. Anyway, we were in the wrong part. We had to back up. So I had a lovely time taking some decent photos and a bit of video footage of the Science Museum. And I've already had, been there before, and the exhibit hasn't changed at all. There's still the same old stuff. But I've got some nice photos of all the old vacuum cleaners. Of course, I looked in the washing machines section. They've got everything. Sewing machines, hair dryers, old technology, cookers, old computers, TV games, old televisions. But obviously, I was most interested in the vacuum cleaners, and after the vacuums, the washing machines. But the vacuum cleaners, I've got quite a few of those models, and mine are better than actually the museum. The yellow Electrolux 504 they've got in the Science Museum, mine's in much better condition, and mine isn't lacking the bumper, the furniture guard at the bottom. The Science Museum one is. I don't have one of these early Dysons, which they had in the Science Museum. One machine they also have in the Science Museum, next to the Electrolux 504, was an Electrolux Trilobite robotic vacuum. And I didn't realise, but the Trilobite was the world's first commercially available robotic vacuum cleaner. There had been other vacuum cleaners. I know Panasonic, I remember seeing a Panasonic one on Tomorrow's World. Hitachi had one out, but Electrolux were the first company to make one available for people to buy, and it was a trilobite. And at the time of making this video, I am watching one on eBay, and they want to ask, well, the starting bid is £500, but considering they sold for well over 1,000 new, and it is new in the box, I am contemplating that, because I've always wanted to get one, just because it's the very first robotic vacuum cleaner. So we'll see. If I do get one, you'll see that on my other channel. I might decide not to, but I've been after one for quite a while, and it just reminded me that I hadn't searched on eBay for a bit. So when I got home, I searched and found this new in the box one. So we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, so we packed a lot of that in. We did all that. We did the museums, and I think we got back to Covent. No, was it Covent Garden? Oh no, it would have been Kensington. Yeah, we got back on the tube. Got back to Leicester Square, collected our bags, went to Boots to get the stuff, to eat on the train, and got to the train with half an hour to spare at King's Cross, waiting for the display to change, showing you what platform. So when we saw the platform, fine. We had reserved seats, but wasn't very happy. And this is Hull Train's fault. We'd reserved seats 40, 44 and 45 or something, but they weren't together. Mark was there and I was at the other side, and I was looking and thought, well, why aren't they together? And anyway, some other bloke said, well, that's my place. So I wasn't very happy. I felt like saying to the bloke, well, good luck, mate, because you're going to have a cold by the time you finish this journey, sat next to him, coughing. So Mark was quite tickled, but apparently I must have been fairly loud. I said, I don't want... I had a little bit of a hissy fit, I think. I said, I don't want to have to sit next to a stranger, like... So, it was mortifying. So anyway, I had to sit the other side, sort of not quite opposite, on a section where there's a table in the middle and 4 chairs. So I had the window seat. So I was like this. There was a bloke, I didn't even look at him. There's a bloke sat next to me, and it was all full. So I got there, got my packed lunch out, got my iPad out, put my headphones on, opened up my iPad, had it on the table, and just ate my wrap and my crisps and my drink while watching. I think it was Curb Your Enthusiasm was one of the things I was watching, and The Good Life I think I had, and then listened to some music as well. So basically I just spent the whole time with my earphones in. Then some woman from the train company comes down with a questionnaire wanting people to answer. Of course I just closed my eyes, pretended to be asleep, because I thought, well, I'm not impressed with you, Hull Trains. If you book 2 seats, you expect them to be next to each other. Anyway, I didn't, once I got over the initial shock of having to share my space with a stranger, it was okay. And we soon got home. My mum picked us up, because obviously we were going to my mum's house, and then we picked up the dogs, obviously, from my mum's, and then drove back home. But all in all, yeah, that was a great trip, going to London. I did take my my normal camcorder. I took that with me. In the end, I didn't get it out. Couldn't be bothered, It's not huge, but it's, I thought, well, I've got my iPhone. It takes 4K. I'll do a little bit of filming on that. So the result of that you've seen in this video. So it'll be the first time I've seen what an iPhone can do camera-wise. Oh, that reminds me, we also went to the Apple store somewhere in London. There's probably more than one. And Mark was quite interested, because at the back of this Apple store there was this sort of, not a stage, but there's a big screen, and they give you tutorials, and there was this young boy, barely out of nappies, telling everyone how to use their iPhones to take photos. So he sat and watching. It's quite interesting, because I learned, because it's a new iPhone, I didn't realise what live, it said live at the top of my photos. I thought, what's that mean? Basically, when you take a live photo, it means the photo becomes a little bit, it has movement in it. So you take a snap, and if the thing is moving, when you view the photo, it shows that little bit of movement. And here's an example of something I took on my iPhone with the live thing. I was on live anyway until I remembered to turn it off because I didn't know what it meant until we went to the Apple store. So that was Daisy. She's sniffing around. New carpet. Daisy has already piddled on it twice. The first time I was there and watching her doing it. She was looking up at me all innocent and then she squatted. I screamed. I screamed at her. Didn't I? But I caught it quick enough. Yes, cough in my face, why don't you? I caught it quick enough, it didn't soak in. But then I found another older stain. But also that has been removed. But it was bound to happen. You can't have nice things with dogs. Well, you can't keep them nice anyway. So that's just a little update of my London trip mainly for you. Just hoping March is going to be a better month for me health-wise. You know, I've made sure that I'm always taking my daily multivitamin and mineral. I'm taking my turmeric tablets twice a day, so making sure I'm not forgetting to take those. I'm also upped my fruit and veg. I'm trying to eat a bit more healthier than I have been, and a little bit of positive thinking, because it really got me down this past month, being ill and then getting ill again. As I said, I'm not out the woods yet, but I feel that I've turned a corner and I'll be able to get my energy back. Last Sunday I was just in bed all the time, just got out, had some breakfast and just went back to bed and just spent most of the day in bed, which, you know, might sound nice to some folk, but when you've got so much to do and you want to be doing stuff, it's not. But I've been bored. Past few days I've been bored, and I haven't been bored in a long time. Because there's only so much internet you can look at. There's only so much TV you can look at without feeling, oh, how many more times am I going to refresh this web page to expect to see something different? But normally I don't get bored because I do get distracted. Let's say I'd start doing something and I can never complete it. I'll go and something else attracts me, or something I'm distracted by something. Oh, I'd rather go and do that. So there's a lot of half or quarter finished projects in the house. So I just need to buckle down and get on with it. My latest thing I'm going to finish soon, because this is mainly going to be about my London trip. Got things to tell you about the caravan. Well, I'll just finish off. Well, I've been getting headaches when I've been burning my Yankee candles and using the wax melts and things, and I think, you know, it's a coincidence. So I experimented when I didn't have a headache, and I found that I've been getting headaches burning candles. So over just off camera shot are five or six full big Yankee candle jars, which I'm giving to charity or might sell them. And look, oh, this is full. These are wax melts. Look, this is full of wax melts, Yankee candle wax melts. So I've decided to get rid. I'm going to sell these though. I mean, I have given an awful lot away to charity, but I think I can sell these on eBay, these Yankee things, because they are giving me headaches. I've got 3 books about the chemicals in your home that I've had for many years, and I've just started looking at them again, and it lists all the ingredients and what they do to you, what they can cause, and there's no ingredients on these, but it's part of my declutter. It's part of simplifying. I did go through a couple of days ago. I went through a lot of my cleaning products. Fortunately, a lot of it are the sort of eco-friendly, less harmful ones, but some aren't. So I did dispose of them because I thought, well, use them up. And I was thinking again with the Yankee candles, use them up because it's a waste. But then I thought, well, if I'm burning a candle just to use it up and it's giving me a headache, what's the point? And then, of course, what's it doing to the dogs with their smaller lungs? So that's part of my declutter, simplifying thing. and it is worth doing. Simplify your cleaning products, simplify your personal care. My personal care products, I've got loads. I'm going to use those up, but then I'm going to phase in more natural and just go for a much more simpler selection of products instead of all these. They don't work, you know. It's silly having all this stuff. So I've been doing that this week. I've been doing little things, little bits and bobs when I've had the energy trying to get stuff done, but you know. So next thing, we are going on holiday in the caravan in March, in a couple of weeks. I tried to buy an awning. We're going for a camper air awning. It's just nice size for our caravan. And I put everything in this basket from this website. We had the awning and the carpet thing that goes in it. Some stiffener things that go at the back. Other bits you need. So the whole lot. Oh, and also sort of a collapsible cupboard thing with a worktop on to put in the awning for our shoes and other bits. So all in all that came to £950. I tried checking out several times via PayPal. It took me to PayPal, and then I clicked yes, I'll have it, and it took you back to the website, and it says confirm. It kept taking me back and forth, and I got so peed off. So that company, I think it's Camping World or something, they've lost £950 because I might try it again on my laptop because it's on my iPad. It might be something to do with that, but if it doesn't work, they can F off and I will go elsewhere for the stuff, because you can buy the stuff elsewhere. But that's the plan. We're going to get an air awning and we'll be trying that out on our next trip in March. So that's it for today. Some of you did watch my live stream. That was a bit off the cuff and it did go on for quite a long time. But you know, you don't have to watch it, do you? I quite enjoy really long live streams sometimes. But you know, I don't sit and watch them. I have them on in the background and listen to them. You don't need to see the people. You know, if it's just people chatting about subjects, you just have it on in the background and listen to it. And if you can't listen to it all in one go, when you pick it up later, YouTube normally remembers where you were. So apologies for anyone who didn't watch that because it was far too long. I think I had a bit of a hissy fit because I had a bit of trolling. Not a lot, but any trolling for me is unacceptable. I haven't even watched it back myself, so probably made a fool of myself, but never mind. I much prefer this sort of video where I can sort of edit out anything I don't want to talk about. That I might have said off the cuff in a live stream. It's a bit dangerous live streaming. Right, well that really is it. So you've been updated. Hopefully I'm getting better. Had a nice trip to London, clearing out the chemicals of my home, and a trip inside the caravan, is imminent. So I think we're all up to speed. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you all possibly very soon, hopefully before we go out on holiday. But obviously, I will be taking my camera and showing you where we're going in our second caravan trip. So until then, thanks for all your comments and your thumbs up. Please subscribe, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.